I think of the guy that's like truly undisciplined, no values, no self-care, and says, well, I'm always busy.
Yep.
So today we're going to dive straight in. Now, who I have with me is someone that I guess goes way back. I met Michael back in about 2012, where I actually started my CrossFit journey, and you were there.
Yep.
And I just want to introduce you to my podcast, my show, and just bring you to my audience. So thanks for just the time. And you're obviously coming here all the way from Canberra.
Yeah, so all the way from Australia, and haven't seen you for 12 years, longer. So 14 years. So it's been a journey.
It's been a while. So I kind of want to like dive a little bit more into like how you got to this point, because when I met you, one thing about that I noticed right away was just like how into it you were with training. And you were like that person that, you don't really bother you when you're training. Like when you're training, you're like, your head is in the game. So tell me, I guess, what has shaped you to be where you're at today? You're a dad of 2 young girls. What has kind of been that, like, I guess the last decade? Tell me about the last decade.
Well, look, when I started CrossFitting, I got quite addicted to it. So it became my life. I love training. It gave me some sort of sense of fulfillment in who I identified myself with at that point. And that's why whenever I did train, I just had my head down and that's all I wanted to do. Obviously, it also regulates your hormones and I feel good and you get a high from it. I have an addictive personality. But that was pretty much the start of my training career. I tried to go as far as I could with what I had within CrossFit. And then later on in my journey, I met a woman. We got married and had 2 beautiful children, but sadly the marriage didn't work. And I think after you have children, I went from being selfish and training and doing everything that I wanted to do for myself. And then from that, now that you have kids, you realize that there's other people relying on you and you have to step outside of that selfishness and start to become selfless. And that's not to say you've got to look after yourself and have some time for yourself, but it was a big eye opener for me. Yeah. And that's pretty much what brings me today, moving away from competitive CrossFitting and feeding my identity with that to finding more of a holistic outlook on my approach to training, being smarter with my training and actually utilizing the principles that I've learned over the years so that I'm more in an anabolic state versus a catabolic state, destroying myself day in, day out.
Yeah. I think people don't really understand what that means though. Like how can you explain anabolic versus catabolic for the person who is just probably training, but not really understanding what training can do for them?
Yeah, easy. So I suppose anabolic state is when you're repairing and growing. Catabolic state is the opposite of that. And you can get catabolic from undereating or overtraining, doing too much, stress. When there's outside influences on your life, you're quite anxious. And then that part or that aspect of your life can infer into your training. And then you don't recover, you don't repair, you start to get strung out. Versus finding a happy medium where you can progressive overload, make sure you're getting enough recovery and finding an anabolic state where you're repairing and growing and getting that progression in performance and aesthetics as you go along in your training. Yeah.
For sure. And I mean, you are extremely lean, you maintain everything. So clearly there's a nutritional aspect here. So tell us about your nutrition.
Well, just quietly, I don't know if everyone knows this, but genetically I'm pretty lucky. So genetically, I've always had abs and looked quite well. But for me, the hardest part of my sort of nutrition is eating enough. I don't necessarily get hungry, so I need to sit in a certain calorie and macro range where I'm getting enough protein in, I'm getting enough calories in where I can sustain the lean body mass that I'm after. I find it really easy to cut down purely because I'm not hungry. During the week when I'm in routine, I'll try and stick to my calorie input, which is around 28 to 3,200 at the moment, which gives me maintenance. And then to be honest, on the weekends, my calories naturally go backwards just because I'm not in routine. I've got a lot of stuff with my kids and I find that I forget to eat and that brings my leanness back into play. And then I start again for each week. When I'm working with clients, it's really important that we find out what works for them. So we tend to find out over a 6-week period what sort of calorie deficit that they can sustain while they're burning body fat. And then once we have the data, that's when you can go from there. So as long as you know yourself and you know what you're eating and you know what works for you, and that is derived from data and doing the work, that's how you can stay as lean as you want year in, year out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I talk a lot about discipline and you show a lot of discipline.
Yep.
But not just in the gym, right? Like I want to talk a little bit about like how do you stay disciplined in your relationships with your kids,
Yep.
right? Like you with your nutrition, with your work. Like how is it? Do you have a structure? Do you have a protocol or a strategy that you use?
Yeah. Look, really hard for me was trying to organize my work. I was a personal trainer. Well, I'm still a personal trainer, and I had to emphasize having enough time where I could get my kids to school before and after school care, get enough training throughout the day, and make sure I'm eating enough. And obviously, I've got people in my life that help me with that. But that was probably something that I found the hardest, changing from being on my own and being able to work whenever I wanted to, and then having children and then having them to come first and everything kind of mapping around that. So to be honest, it's just a decision. You either make a decision and stick with it and grind it out, or you don't, and then everything else can fall off the wagon. So personally, I have a really good structure throughout the week where I know where I need to be every morning. I know what I need to do for my children every morning. And then if I tell myself I'm going to train, I do it regardless of how I'm feeling. I'm not always motivated. Uh, I am tired a lot of the times. I don't sleep the best some nights. And as long as I stick to what I tell myself I'm going to do for the day, I feel a sense of fulfillment in that. My hormones are regulated and I can be pretty much in a steady state of discipline when I have that structure. And I don't know about you, but I find that when you are disciplined and you instill this into your life, everything else tends to fly away. You're not anxious. You're not depressed. You're steady. Discipline is just the core fundamental value of everyone. If you don't have discipline, you've got nothing. So although there is times when I get home and I collapse on the couch from being too tired from training and working a lot, as long as I realign and I'm always focused on the next day and starting the new day and the decisions I make, I find that with that, everything else comes good.
Yeah.
Mm.
So, I mean, let's say that you are deprived of sleep. How do you maintain those promises though? Like, I mean, you're tired, right?
Well, this is the thing. Okay, if I'm deprived from sleep, I won't train. If I'm sick, I won't train. If I don't think I'm going to get the best out of my session, I won't train. But then I'll do everything else that I can. So I will rest. I will eat well. I try and get a good night's sleep the following night. I'll shift my program around so that I can get the amount of training that I need to do. But if I'm going into the gym tired, not well, and I'm trying to perform, why am I doing it? It's a junk set to me. So I'm not getting the best out of my performance. It's like your heart rate variation, right? If you're not going to perform at the top of your game, I don't believe you're going to get the output from it. So accepting that is a big thing. So accepting when you can't perform and taking the break, but then always coming back on the path and realigning and really digging in when you need to train. And I'm sure you'd agree, Snez, that intensity and being uncomfortable in a session is what makes you a better athlete and human performer. So I really make that the core value of when I train. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna dive into this one topic, and I truly think that people will find the value of this. But the latest topic I think has been coming up a lot in 2024 is the dad bod.
The dad bod, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I am not on the fence. I'm on the side of like
Yeah.
a dad bod should not exist.
Yeah.
There is no such thing as a bad dad bod, or if you talk about it, like I think of the guy that's like truly undisciplined, no values,
Yeah.
no self-care,
Yeah.
and says, well, I'm always busy.
Yep.
But then I look at you and you have a dad bod that's like ridiculous. So like, please tell me and please tell people, because I have a lot of guys that listen to this, and if you don't take at least like 17 notes, you're kidding. But how can someone avoid that and just maintain physique? It doesn't have to be like, maybe to the same degree as yours, but to a respectful manner.
So all you need is 8 minutes in the day, righto? There's different energy systems. What are the most effective energy systems to work over an 8-minute period? A dad who is busy could wake up in the morning, walk for 30 seconds, sprint for 30 seconds for 8 rounds. And if he does that, he's in his phosphate system. Sprinters look phenomenal. And if sprinters look phenomenal and you're sprinting every morning for 8 minutes, then you're going to look good yourself. But hand in hand with that is if you are a bit overweight and you're carrying fat and you're drinking alcohol, obviously you have to reduce alcohol. Alcohol is an absolute killer because it's an empty calorie. You're fueling your body. It's fuel. It's ethanol. It's fuel. You're fueling your body. So you don't know how much you're burning from that. So drastically, you need to reduce your alcohol intake. And then if you're in a slight deficit, it's really small changes. Routine is everything. Have the same breakfast every morning. Set yourself up for the day where you're having some protein in the morning, maybe a bit of yogurt, some fruit and all that sort of stuff. That's going to set you up for the day. It's going to give you your first meal. And then if you're doing something simple like walking and sprinting, then you're going to mend that phosphate system and you're going to burn body fat. It's very, very simple. But I think a lot of people are lazy. They don't want to do that. Number one, it's the truth, but it's the education behind it as well. I know because I've been doing this a long time. But for those people that don't know where to start, you could start there. Those people who are umming and ahhing about going to the gym, go to the gym. And again, like I said, you've got to commit and don't break the promise to yourself that day. If you'll say you're going to train the next day, train the next day, and you will feel better about yourself. You'll like yourself more.
There you go. So the dad bod needs to die, and
Yeah.
this is how it dies.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I love that.
8 minutes a day. That's it. 3 or 4 times a week. That's it. Calorie deficit.
I love it. Okay. So you're training, you train 4 days a week.
Yeah, 4 to 5 days a week, depending. Yeah. Yeah.
And what's your main focus now, like with your body and do you have goals that you set for yourself?
I've got some performance goals. Like aesthetically, I'm pretty good now. I've got my calories down pat. I know what I can eat to maintain what I've got. And again, I'll bring that back down to data. It's test and adjust. So for me personally, there's a few strength goals that I want to attain. Like I'd love to bench 180 kilos and 12 and a half kilos off. I would love to be able to do that. I'm almost at a 500-pound squat, so I would love to achieve that as well. And for someone who is 40 years old to be able to do that, I think that for me would be a pinnacle of some sort of strength aspect. But I power build, so I truly believe in the strength to hypertrophy correlation, especially for natural athletes. If your strength is up, then your hypertrophy sets can go up. So strength is anywhere from 1 to 6 reps. So learn to squat heavy, 1 to 6, learn to press heavy, 1 to 6. And then when you get into your myofibrillar hypertrophy sets or those muscle growth sets from 8s to 12s, and you've just done a strength stimulus, your body will react really well and you'll be able to develop lean body mass, especially if you're eating enough protein in food.
Yeah. Well, we did like a really awesome session today, just a bit of interval work, short, sharp, to the point.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes people complicate it.
Yeah.
They go and do a laundry list of things where they don't need to. So your main approach is compound lifting.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so do you ever, what about like cardio for you?
Yeah, no, it's a good question because I love to feel fit and because I've had that CrossFit background. I love the hormone regulation. I love cardiovascular fitness. If I don't train in that metabolic sense, I get wound up. Even if I'm doing strength work and power building, I get wound up. So I need that endorphin release. For me, it's very important. But I want to do things that don't really impact my lean body mass and my strength and my performance. So versus CrossFit where I might be doing a lot more barbell work and hardcore gymnastic stuff, I wind that back into a low impact metabolic conditioning. If you know what metabolic conditioning is, it's utilizing all 3 energy systems. And I'll utilize all 3 energy systems, but in a low impact work where I get a lot out of it. I can still gain lean body mass and I get a fitness from it as well. And I start to feel good and it doesn't really highly impact my performance when I'm doing my strength or my lean body mass work.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so really simplify things. And people have got to get out of doing junk sets. If you're performing well and you fatigue yourself, whether that's in a bodybuilding or a strength aspect, and you're trying to be in the gym for 90 minutes to 2 hours, I get a lot of people asking why I only train for 45 to an hour. Well, you start to overtrain after an hour. You start to get catabolic after an hour. So when you're in the gym, If you've got something to do it well, do it hard, and get rid of those junk sets. And then that way you're not having to overcommit, but the performance and the intensity is there where you're going to get your progressive overload.
I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. So we've touched on a lot about training, nutrition, bit of mindset. I want to kind of tap into a little bit more of the area that we haven't really kind of talked about yet, which is we're both from a very small place,
Yeah.
right? Canberra doesn't have a lot of people, maybe 400,000, I would think.
Yeah, 400. Yeah.
And I find that the mindset there is quite small and narrow. And it's hard for people to understand as soon as you're wanting to grow, wanting to develop, and wanting to kind of like, I guess, go big. So what has been your experience? Because, you know, you have gone pretty big yourself
Yeah.
in terms of just your reach. You're now reaching people around the world. How has that experience been for you? And what are your thoughts are about just from that person who has a small mindset?
Look, it's a really interesting one because I think people that knew you before you were an influence to other people or a positive influence to other people, they might see you through a different lens. And um, I don't know if there's covetousness or jealousy or whatever it can be, but in my experience, some, not all, some have a negative outlook on you, and uh, they'll give themselves excuses. So you must have cheated your way to get somewhere, or you're not who you say you are, or things like that. I do have that sort of sense, and this is only from my own perspective. I mean, there's always two perspectives, and then there's the truth. So there is that sense in Canberra, but there are those that do want to see you do well as well. So um, those people that are positive, like to see you grow, that comment and like and ask questions, and you can see them wanting to feed positive influence into those lives. Those are the people that I really enjoy hanging around. And once you become self-aware and you understand what someone's trying to get out of you and everywhere else, I suppose once that sort of light switched on in your brain, you kind of see a divide or difference towards people, especially from your hometown, of who are good and who are negative. And I think it just gives you more of awareness of that. And like I love everyone, so I truly am a believer that whatever past someone's had to make them a certain way to today has made them a certain way. And until someone goes through maybe a catalyst or a mind shift, um, they might be stuck in just that three-dimensional outlook on people. So one thing I'm trying to live by is that you can't tell someone to change or see someone in a positive look, but what you can do is you can be a flame or a spark, or hopefully with someone say, hey, Michael's doing this, or Shnez is doing this. Maybe I should change my ways. Maybe I should be positive. So I guess I see a lot of that in Canberra where people are stuck in three-dimensional outlook and they're just looking straight ahead and they get a little bit jealous, but maybe sometimes they need to step back and just try and change their perspective. But hopefully people like yourself, Shanez, are doing good for the world. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a big thing for just like small towns in general. You know, a lot of my clients, they come from small towns and they find the same thing happens to them. It's really, it doesn't matter what area you're looking to grow, whether it's physical, spiritual, mental, whatever. Anything that you want to grow, people will feel threatened by.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what I found to be true for a lot of people, myself included. But I think that if you're going to want to change, you have to allow a little bit of pushback.
Yeah.
Because that to someone else, they get a little bit like, well, am I going to be forgotten?
Yeah.
And that's really more of a reflection on them.
Yeah.
And that's what I have found to be more.
Yeah, no, and there's that thing, like, I mean, I see it online and it's kind of sits true. Like anyone who's doing better than you won't look down on you.
Yeah.
But if you're doing better than someone else, or you're performing, or you're going places, those people that aren't really, or they've got that failure to launch, they can have a negative aspect on you and can feel that sort of negative vibration that can sit with them. So if they can change that mind shift, yeah, 100%,
Yeah.
100%, yeah.
I agree. I think that what I like about the stuff that you put out there is it is very motivating, and it's like showing people that you're just putting in the hard work every day.
Yeah.
And it's not like it's magical stuff. It's not like a crazy formula, but it is a lot of consistency.
Yeah.
So if someone was struggling with consistency, what would be the advice?
Well, first of all, a lot of people online think that I train more than I do. I only train about 4 hours a week. I get a lot of comments of people saying, "Oh, you spend your whole time in the gym. That's all you do. You don't have time for work. Do you even have a job?" and all this sort of thing. Um, Again, it's when you're in the gym, you're making yourself uncomfortable and you're bringing in intensity. But for those people that are looking for consistency, it always comes back to keeping a promise to yourself, like I said earlier. And that's what I've done for myself. In the morning when I wake up, I make a promise that I'm going to do these certain things during the day, whether it's professional, personal, or performance based. I know what I'm going to do that day, and regardless of how I feel, I'm going to do it. But if you're the type of person that wakes up and go, I'm going to do something, and then doesn't do it, you know, at the end of the day, you're not going to feel good about yourself. And that's when it starts to snowball. And it's like I said, like you can't tell someone, you have to make the decision yourself. And for me, I went through a catalyst in my life where, everyone goes through hardships and everyone has different backgrounds. But I went through a big catalyst and a shift change when I had kids, and I went through my divorce with my ex and that sort of thing. And that's when I said to myself that I'm going to make a decision and I'm going to stick to that decision and I'm going to follow through with it. And then ever since I've done that, I've been able to achieve what I've wanted to achieve. And I've been lucky enough to be able to motivate people and coach people around the world now. So, yeah.
So, what would be the biggest difference between you today and you 15 years ago?
Awareness.
Yeah.
Yeah. Self awareness, not just awareness in myself, but awareness in other people. I think social intelligence is really important. I think, and if you don't understand what social intelligence is, it's how you interact with the people around you and how you interact with yourself. Um, there is an ego that we all have, and ego is a tool, whether you like it or not. But I think being aware of what people need to be motivated, what people are trying to get out of a conversation to feed their ego, and just understanding that personality profiling and being aware of everybody and every interaction is probably the most important lesson that I've learned throughout the last, decade for myself. Yeah.
And what would be the next lesson you want to learn or that you're currently trying to learn?
Ah, so I've got a pretty good work-life balance. I say that I'm working a lot, and it's probably a little bit too much, but I love my children to pieces. Like they are my life. They're my blood. Like I get emotional thinking about them. They're the only thing that really spark emotion in my life at the moment. And I get distracted with work, training, other aspects of my life, and even when I'm around my children. And although the weeks that I have my kids, because I share them 50-50, I try and be as present as possible. I want them to get more involved in what I'm doing so I can share more of myself. I think it's really important that men and women are just a full role model for their kids, because kids are going to shape the world, and the next generation is going to shape our world. And I think if anything, that's what I want to work on over the next 5 years or for the rest of my life. Yeah.
Okay. What would be, if you have any, what is your biggest fear?
I know what my biggest fear is, and that's losing my children, like
Yep.
my kids. Anything to harm my children is my biggest fear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And what would you say you're most proud of?
It's a tough one. It's a tough question. I never really think of what I'm proud of. Obviously, I'm proud of my children, but I think you mean
Just you.
just in me.
Because everyone's so big to quickly think about their struggles and know where their struggles have come from. But what would
Yeah.
be something that you're actually proud of in terms of maybe your achievement or overcome?
Okay. Yeah. Look, I think what I'm most proud of is getting through. You can either sink or swim during a catalyst in your life. Like I went through a breakup. You hit rock bottom in some sense.
Yeah.
And I think being able to climb and be a climber through adversity for me is probably something that I'm proud of. And being a constant avid learner is something that I'm proud of. And yeah, so yeah, swimming instead of sinking, being a climber instead of a camper, and constantly trying to fill myself with positive knowledge is something that I'm proud of in myself.
I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
I love that. You know, one thing that I think, and you can correct me, but I feel like people get you wrong in the sense that they probably see you and think you're arrogant.
Am I arrogant?
No,
I don't know.
no, I don't think that. But I also spend time with you, and I'm getting to know you. But I feel like because you have the body,
Yeah.
you have the looks,
Yeah.
you have the personality.
Yeah.
But before someone goes beyond the surface, right? I can definitely see that because you know you carry a sense of confidence that most people probably want
Yeah.
and they don't have.
Yeah.
So they, you know, obviously self-reflection, they're probably like, this guy's arrogant, he's got it all. I just say that because I've had a lot of people do the same thing in regards to me.
Yeah.
But I want to know, like, is that something that you faced or is that something that you feel from others?
Sometimes. I mean, it's a cynical world, and well, half of the world is cynical, half the world isn't. And I truly believe, uh, confidence isn't arrogant, playful arrogance isn't arrogant, um, and strangers are friends you haven't met yet. So I think arrogance because you come across confidence might be a insecurity in those people that are calling you arrogant.
Yeah.
And it has to be an insecurity in others. Um, Confidence is attractive,
Yeah.
especially in men. Like women find confidence attractive, and it's not always taught when people are growing up. People have different backgrounds and different father figures, and I think when you instill confidence and charisma and humor and all that sort of stuff into your personality, it's not manipulation, but it's a quality that you can develop into yourself, which makes you more attractive to other people. But for those people that um, maybe feel a little bit insecure, can see that as
Yeah.
arrogance. Yeah,
I see. So with confidence versus arrogance, for me, it's like the confident person has the results.
yeah,
The arrogant person talks about how they want the results.
yeah, 100%. Yeah,
So and
agree.
that's why
Mm.
I sense that from people that are because you know I find that you and I are very similar in that regard. But a lot of the time, people probably just see the surface and it's just like, well, they want that.
Yeah.
You have that.
Yeah.
So shame on you for having it first.
Snez, like what I love about you is there's no bullshit. There's no bullshit. And I have a bit of that. I throw a bit online, like, you've got to make a decision and you've got to stick to it.
Yeah.
And
It's
there
hard.
needs to be more people. And there's that thing, like the true friends, the people that are your friends are going to give you no bullshit. You know what I mean? The people that are in your life that tell you how it is and say, you're unhealthy.
Yeah.
You need to do something about it. Your personal life is going to shit. You need to do something about it. That is not arrogance. That is a friend and someone that is trying to do good for you and for the world. And I mean, that's what I love about you. And I remember, I don't know if everyone knew this, but I saw Shnez online. I hadn't seen her for a while. And she came up in my FYP or whatever you call it these days. And she's giving this no bullshit talk. And I was like, F yes. And I was like, come on, this is great. And it isn't arrogance. It is purely positive reinforcement to people that
Yeah.
wake up, because there is more to the human body. Is a phenomenal thing, and if you take step after step, you're going to get somewhere. And once you are somewhere, wherever that may be, you will find a sense of fulfillment because you are disciplined and you like yourself more.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
I think that that's so true.
yeah,
I like to call those people like trusted critics.
trusted
Right.
friends,
Like,
yeah.
because they're like, I mean, they're just willing to say, hey, get your shit together. And that's essentially what I love to do is I like to call people out on the things that they're not doing.
Yeah.
I think that there's enough cheerleaders out there and enough enablers out there. I don't need to be another one.
No, no.
And so it's really one of those. Now, for people who would love to find you, work with you, talk to you, how can they find you?
Oh, look, just on my Instagram, DM me. I might find you in my hidden messages if I get through there. I am quite busy. I run my Instagram on my own. don't have anyone working for me. But
Yeah, because one day you will.
Yeah.
You won't get a chance.
yeah, we'll see. But yeah, so Michael Roach _athletic on Instagram. Give me a DM, and like I can't get to everyone, and I try to as best I can, and I'm sure you're the same. But yeah, hit me up. My emails on my TikTok, the same thing, Michael Roach _athletic. And if you want to reach out to me there, I'll try and get back to you again. But again,
But do it now, because in 6 months' time, he's going to
Yeah.
be too hard to reach.
yeah, that's right. But no, I do try and do try and get to as many people as I can, as long as your messages aren't, rude or crass or anything like that. I'll get back to you.
Okay, so well, that brings me to my thing. Like everyone thinks that you're on trend or you're on something.
No,
You're on nothing.
nothing. I'm a natural athlete. I've never taken any sort of enhancement or anything like that. I'm actually not as big. I don't know if you like that I look like online as well. Everyone thinks I'm like 200.
He looks exactly like he looks online, like exactly the same.
But I'm only 86 kilos. My FFMI is 24, so very natural. And
What's your body fat?
Look, I don't 100% know. The lowest I've been is 4%, and that's when I won the national fitness model championships. But I would suggest maybe around 8 to 10% at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah, wow,
Yeah.
that's insane. Okay, 8 to 10%, 6 foot.
6 foot. Yeah.
Okay, and 86 kilos.
86, maybe 87 at the moment.
No, yeah, I'd say you look like what we see.
Yeah. The leaner you are, the
The also you look.
the big-
Yeah, everyone always sees me. They're like, "Dang, you're tiny." I'm like,
yeah.
Eh.
It's your rip.
It works.
Yeah.
It works.
Nice.
The camera can do a lot of great things.
Yeah.
Like filter free. So anyways, I wanted to kind of like jump on that and hop on it. Although there is one more thing. Everyone
Yeah.
calls you Clark Kent.
Actually, this morning I was at a cafe, and I think her name was Stella. She came up to me and she goes, "Hey, I don't want to sound rude or anything, but you look like Clark Kent." And then I just said hello to her and I said, "Yeah, everyone calls me Clark Kent." And obviously I wear glasses, so I either look like Clark Kent or Harry Potter. And people have thankfully started calling me Clark Kent.
You just need to walk down Hollywood Boulevard and see who picks you up.
Yeah,
Like,
that's right.
maybe you might have your next.
You never know.
All right. Well, I wanted to say thank you. I hope everyone has gotten a lot out of this. This is going to be awesome to drop. And again, follow Michael. I'll drop him in the comments here. Like, subscribe. Make sure you subscribe to the channel here. Follow Michael, and then just, if you have any questions about anything that he's doing, anything that I'm doing, we'd love to talk to you guys. But we'll see you guys in the next one.
Thanks, Jess.
Thank you.